right now is Workshop meeting of December 9th, 2019 to order. Can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Vice President Johns,
Present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Dara,
Present.
Commissioner Richard, present. Solicitor Hands,
Present.
and Manager Patterson.
Here.
And we are being recorded. Do I hear a motion to approve the November 18, 2019 workshop meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Old business, the 2020 real estate tax ordinance. Gwen?
You have the sample, the draft of that ordinance in your packet, and it has been advertised for adoption next week at the legislative meeting. And it's the same one every year, it's just the millage, this one is for the millage rate, setting the millage at 3.5.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it was advertised.
Yes, for adoption next week.
Good. Any other questions or discussion about that?
No.
All right, the 2020 budget ordinance.
Same story. This is the budget has to be adopted by ordinance, so this has already been advertised to be adopted next week. And this is what would officially adopt the budget.
And we did review the budget from last month's meeting. Has that created any questions for anybody or any comments?
There's not a lot of variables.
Not a lot of variables. Roads, Avenue, geotech monitoring.
This is just to give an update that we heard from the geotech company that they wanted to come in this week and start, would probably be a day-long process to drill the test holes. It would require some traffic restrictions for the day. I don't know exactly what day it is. Not today, I think not in this weather. So as soon as I find out, I'll let everyone know, but I expect it, and we'll contact the residents on Rhodes Avenue to give them a heads up that there may be traffic disruption for the day if they need to leave early, like they did when they did the paving project. But that monitoring should be in place, hopefully this week, if not next week, and then it'll be periodically checked.
Do they expect like a closure, or just that we would be postponed in getting, or you know what I mean?
I don't know whether it's going to be like they would get here at 7 a.m. and you have to be out by 7 and then you can come back at 5. I don't know the answer yet because they haven't contacted me yet about the date and how long it would take.
Okay.
But I expect it for one day.
Closed because the equipment's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, I didn't know the size of the equipment, and if that's the case, just from last time we did have to do the closure for the road, it was easier for most of the residents to get out after the bus left at like 8:15, 8:30.
I will pass that along.
Then the bus is gone, and then there's no, then the kids are going off the road.
Yeah.
It's just be helpful.
Why don't you two stay in the loop?
Certainly.
So as you learn things, Gwen, run them past Amy quickly, and Jeff, because Amy lives on the road. Commissioner Richard.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions about Rose Avenue? Any other information? That is for which meeting?
Next week.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Good. So I won't be able to pick up the coffee?
We'll figure it out.
All right. I think Sheets, probably.
Probably. Yeah, we'll find a place that has.
I'll be on my way
boxes of
too,
coffee.
so we can talk when we talk about Rhodes Avenue if we need to
Okay.
coordinate something.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, 2020 meeting dates.
You have a list in your packet of the meeting dates for 2020. Just wanted to point out that January is different because we agreed to combine the reorganization and the workshop, so there's no standard second Monday meeting for the workshop. And then March is different because last year the board voted to kind of permanently set the March legislative meeting to be Tuesday instead of Monday, the third Tuesday instead of the third Monday. So I just want to point that out as you fill in your schedules for the year. And then at the bottom, I list the other meetings that we generally have. The Planning Commission is the first Wednesday of the month, and that's as needed, so we haven't had one for a while. Zoning Hearing Board is scheduled as needed, there's no set schedule for that. And the Township Authority is the fourth Thursday, except for November and December next year, where it's the third Thursday because of holidays.
This year also. This year also.
This year also, yeah, you were early this year too.
And should we go ahead and decide on the meeting we want to have at Masonic and the meeting we want to have at the fire hall?
We can certainly aim for it, and it depends on their schedule, but we can just.
Why don't you take an aim?
In the past 2 years, this year was a little off schedule, but in the past 2 years, we had the September workshop at Masonic. And then we had the November workshop at the fire station.
Let's give it a try.
Did you like having a legislative meeting at Masonic rather than a workshop meeting? So that's something to think about. There's a little bit more structure to the legislative meeting, there's more reporting of financial and things like that. Workshops can be hit or miss, meaning we could have something a lot to talk about or not much to talk about. So it's up to you to think about that, if you thought that the legislative meeting this year was able to deliver a little more general information to the
There's more reports.
residents. More reports.
I'd be inclined to try to do the legislative there.
I think so too.
I agree.
Good.
So we'll aim for the September
more-
legislative at Masonic and the November workshop at the fire station?
Yeah,
Commissioner Williams, you have the insight into that.
as far as the signage is concerned. I would say the station, the administrative also, because I think it's less chance of having something that would be different. So there's a little continuity that I would recommend.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, I will mark that down.
so that's our target.
Yes. Subject to change given to our situation and Masonic's and fire station's
Right.
situation.
And the Act 172 roster approval. Gwen?
We did this last year. This is the new tax credit program for volunteers, both fire service and ambulance service. And they have to meet the criteria of the organization in which they volunteer. So the list of people who are on this who met the criteria they met are the fire company's volunteer regulations. So the minimum number of calls, minimum number of events and services. So they go through and they check their records to see who met the qualifications. We have two tax credits. We have the real estate tax credit and the earned income tax credit. The real estate offers 20% off of the Aleppo Township real estate taxes that they pay. And the earned income tax offers up to $300 of the 0.5% earned income tax that they pay to the township. So these are the list here is the roster of people who qualified. And then I have to submit that to both taxing agencies so they have the roster to match when these people go to do their taxes. And
So we need a motion to approve the roster.
we can do it now or next week, but now would be fine. There's no advertising.
Just one quick comment for the people here, the people watching, the people that will watch in the future. I think you can tell that across the country, volunteer fire departments are having a very difficult time recruiting people.
Same.
And as you come up Glen Mitchell, you see the sign there that Aleppo's fire department is also recruiting. And Bill Davis told me that it isn't necessarily only people that can climb a ladder. There are other needs that can be filled, so keep that in mind. All right, is there a motion to approve the roster as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, then we have two additional items. Now that the Masonic lawsuit has been settled, we had kept a certain amount of money in reserve to cover any expense that we incurred. We believe that that money should now be put to good use. There are some ideas as to how to put it to good use. If any commissioners or anyone listening has other ideas, please let us know. I'm going to
I'd like
ask,
to explain the source of the money.
the source of the money is primarily from money that we withheld when we refinanced the bonds 3 years ago. And Commissioner Dara, as the representative to the authority from the commissioners, has a little more insight into what we're trying to decide.
Right, we have this money that is related to or derived from the sewer bond issue. And so the authority's position, I think it's also gonna be the position of the commissioners, that that money has to be used for something that's sewer related, that's for the benefit of the sewer ratepayers, because it's basically money that's attributed to their tax burden. And so we've been looking at, started to look at different ways we might use the money in the sewer authority budget or long-range capital items, and those are still under discussion. But one of the things we begin to talk about is an accelerated rate of replacing the water meters that are integral
Yeah.
to the sewer billing cycle.
You beat me to it.
Right. We've also looked at just plugging it into the long-range plan financial program, the 10-year program that the engineer developed, to look at what that, I just asked him to do this, and look at how that impacts what's in the long-range plan, how it impacts potential future rate increases. And so I'm going to give you a spreadsheet that I got from the engineer. You have one of those for yourself?
I do.
Okay. So the first page is out of the long-range plan, and it projects along the line 23 future rate increases to meet the funding projections that are laid out here. The second page takes $250,000 of the funds that we're talking about and plugs them in to 2019 closing cash balance, and that just then ripples through the schedule that show the impact on potential future rate increases. Let me make the point that this is an academic exercise in terms of potential rate increases to meet certain, perhaps one might consider aggressive financial goals. So don't look at this and say, oh my God, we're going to have big rate increases year after year. That's not what we're intending to do. We're intending to try to figure out how to minimize and push out rate increases. So this will be something that we're going to discuss at the authority level as well, because it'll be built into their budget eventually. But we welcome any thoughts that anybody has.
If we make that allocation, $250,000, what's it going to do, or what's the schedule as far as getting all of the meters replaced? Will this do it? Or?
I talked with Nicole today, and she talked with Bill Davis, and it's a matter of, in order to do meter replacement, we need to contact each homeowner and set up a schedule to come to their house and go inside to change out the meter. They'll be there about a half an hour, but historically, getting the homeowners to be responsive and working out a schedule that you can try to do on an accelerated basis, logistically is probably going to be
Yeah, it's a problem.
problem. But I asked Bill to think about what steps might be taken to try to.
But putting that aside, which is a problem, it's a structural problem, so to speak, it's been there forever.
If you replaced all the meters that are on the schedule, there's another piece of this document that's the capital program that's anticipated in the future. To do the 7 phases of meter replacement that's on there, it's about $235,000.
Okay, so we could basically say that the meter replacement would be funded.
Yeah.
If we put it in that way.
Yes.
If that's voted that way.
Right.
It'd make us, keep us whole.
Right.
Okay.
There's another chunk of funds that are going to be held in a reserve account for future contingency as well.
Yeah.
So the one other thought we had was, we have our bond financial advisor reviewing whether there's any component of the existing debt that can be refinanced again. And we'll talk to him about whether some of this money should be applied to reduce the debt in that process, which we doubt. But it's at least something we're considering.
Well, you did look at taking this money and just paying down the debt with it.
Yes,
but the impact on rates is
it would be
almost
pennies.
pennies.
And I think for people that aren't aware, when meters get old, they read inaccurately. And that's pretty important because we have more than industry standard water loss, which means we're buying more water than we're filling, which isn't a good thing.
We're currently running a 31% loss in water purchase, what we purchase from Westview versus what we meter and bill to the homeowners. There's a 31% difference. That water is just not being accounted for.
And the water bills determine your sewer bill, so it's kind of a double hit. And we got a legal opinion today or yesterday that it's appropriate to use funds that were generated from sewer rates to assist in the replacement of meters. So we've kind of cleared that hurdle.
Okay.
So that's what we're thinking. There's some logistical events. I sent an email to Commissioner Dara today. Maybe we could even figure out a way to work in the evenings or work on the weekends a little bit with proper compensation. Maybe we can help educating the residents as to how important it is to sign up for a meter replacement. So it's a thought process.
Yeah, well, that 31% does not take into consideration a catastrophic. That's a normal loss that we've incurred, as I recall, about 30%.
Which is a
So
lot.
if we're,
The industry standard is more like 22%.
yeah, it's about 20. So if we take it upon ourselves to get those meters replaced, you would assume that some of the loss would be now recorded rather than flushed
Right.
out as rainwater.
Right.
So it's sort of a double return from that standpoint.
Because we check for leaks once a year. And the Water Authority does a very good job of monitoring any major leaks. So we don't think that that's the critical issue. We do think it's the meters. But any thoughts are welcome.
Yeah.
All right, and secondly, we do have an authority vacancy that we're hoping to fill. We've had one inquiry and one significant expression of interest, albeit just verbal. And I think Commissioner Dara spoke to the person that has verbally committed. Want to say what he would like to do next week?
Dan O'Malley, I invited to come in to next week's board meeting to introduce himself and give his background and indicate his interest in filling the current open seat on the authority board.
Okay.
And I think from the finance talent that we're seeking, it's public information that Sewickley is now trying to determine whether to continuously upgrade their wastewater treatment plant or accept the option of going to Leedsdale. And we'll certainly be involved in that. It's going to take a lot of analysis on our part. So if somebody comes in that has not only financial talent, but also has strategic and negotiating talent, which Mr. O'Malley has, that'll be very helpful. All right, any other new business?
No.
Citizen participation.
He's been here before.
Yeah,
So even though you have name, address,
Joel Chandler, live on Ferndale Avenue. My wife and I, we just wanted to say thank you, especially to Gwen and the members of the Water Authority. After the last monthly meeting, I was taking garbage out that night and we heard a stream running down our driveway, and there was a water line break on Weber that was running down through a neighbor's backyard and down our driveway, and just reached out to Gwen the next day and asked if, could have someone come out and look at it and see if they could repair it. And the members of the authority, there was someone out
that day that came out and fixed it and did a great job. And I just wanted to reach out and say we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We are very fortunate with the dedication of both our authority employees and our public works. We're very fortunate.
And you've now had personal experience on water leaks.
Yes.
I think the 31%
It's
is on our
It's an
driveway.
awful lot. It's an awful lot of stuff.
Well, thanks, and we hope that
Yeah,
Bill will
thank you
hear
very
that. If he doesn't hear it, we'll tell him.
I'll tell them.
Any other citizen participation? Anything else that commissioners have thought of in the last 2 minutes?
Move to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
It's a lot of pressure there.
Yeah.